Good. Good afternoon, everybody. We are going to have the Victoria County Municipal Council meeting for Monday, May 9th. And just prior to the meeting, we would like to acknowledge that this meeting is held in Unama'ki, one of 7 traditional districts of the Mi'kmaq and ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So with that, just a couple of comments before we open council. We just want to reference that Councillor Patterson is not with us today. He has sent his regrets. And we have just left a budget meeting. And I certainly want to, I should have done this before we left the council meeting. We initiated a new process to look at our budget, and the council wants to acknowledge the work that was done by Alex and Alan, Leanne, and Steph for taking us through that new process. It simplified it and helped make some of our decision-making processes more simpler. So we want to acknowledge that, and I should have done that before. So thank you very much to you and your staff for providing that presentation and allow us to make those decisions in a timely. So with that, the agenda has been circulated to council. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda this afternoon? Hearing none, we have a motion to accept the agenda as circulated, please. Moved by Councillor McNeil. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Organ, seconded. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion is carried and the agenda has been approved. So our first presenters this afternoon are Lisa Young and Patricia Nash. They're from the Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources, and they have a presentation they can do for this afternoon. Welcome to council. Nice to see you. And I'm not sure who's taking the lead, so I'll leave it up to you two and take us through your process, and we'll open it for questions if you wish at the end of your presentation.
Yes, thank you so much, Warden Morrison. And we're going to kind of tag team on this one. We're going to try to keep our presentation brief and allow time for questions. I just want to acknowledge Councillor Paul McNeil and just thank him for asking us to come and present. We've shared a lot of this conversation on IPCAs with Paul through the SEPI table. But he thought it'd be great if we could come here and just give a little quick update on what we're doing around IPCAs and give a little explanation about, well, what is an IPCA and what does that mean? So IPCA is, it stands for Indigenous, Protected, and Conserved Areas. And Indigenous, Protected, Conserved Areas, what the biggest thing to take away about them is that they're not a typical kind of Western colonial perspective around protected areas that we're used to seeing historically in Canada in terms of protected parks or other areas like that. And the difference being is the perspective that Indigenous people have around what it means to be caretakers of the land. So your traditional park, what you would see is that the park would be putting up in different zones, and you would basically exclude human activity or human connection with that park. Indigenous people believe that to truly be caretakers of this land, you have to maintain a relationship with that land. So IPCAs challenge the idea that you can't have human activity on the land in order to, as a way to protect it, that you should be able to still maintain a relationship with the land. So the other thing around IPCAs is that sense of connection and sense of responsibility to that land and those traditional laws and perspectives are what guide your use of that land. So if you think of principles such as the concept of Netiglim that you guys might be familiar with. Netiglim speaks to the ability to maintain, to drive economic and social and community well-being from the land without jeopardizing the integrity of that land or the ability of that land to sustain communities for future generations. Again, you see it talks still about maintaining that relationship to land. And another guiding principle that we use at UINR is Duoptimum, which means two-eyed seeing. And that's a concept brought forward by Elder Albert Marshall around the idea is that all the work that we do at UINR, we rely a lot on those traditional perspectives, but we also rely on Western science and technology and the ability to use those both strengths of those two ways of knowing and knowledge in how we approach what we would typically say land management, but we try to move away from the word management to land relationship. So Indigenous stewardship is not obviously a new concept. As you know, that's something that is very much ingrained and very much a part of the core Indigenous identity. So it's not a new concept in that those understandings are thousands of years old. What's new about the concept of IPCAs, it was brought forward as a way of framing the idea that these ways of knowing and these knowledges are still very relevant today, and they still have a lot to contribute in terms of the approaches that we can take to ensure biodiversity and mitigation for things like climate change. You hear of things like nature-based solutions and whatnot. All those are really integrally entwined into like Indigenous cultures and beliefs and approaches to land relationship. In the pathway to Target 1, if you're familiar with that, it was the federal government looking at how can we move forward to reaching targets of biodiversity for Canada. As part of that kind of conversation, IPCAs were brought forward as an acknowledgement and a way to make space for those Indigenous ways of knowing and being, and how they can contribute to things like, as I mentioned, biodiversity and climate change mitigation. So UINR, along with our other partners like CMM on the mainland and the Smithsonian Fish and Wildlife Commission, are working with the Assembly of Nova Scotia's chiefs to explore the concept of IPCAs in Nova Scotia. We're doing this from a number of different ways and approaches. And Trish is going to speak quickly a little bit to what we're doing specifically in Unama'ki Cape Breton around those. And again, the biggest thing is that they're Indigenous led, because an IPCA is at the heart of IPCAs is the Mi'kmaq culture and language. But it also is, it'll speak to the importance of Indigenous rights, but more importantly, responsibilities. Because our elders always remind us that we have a responsibility to land, and that's another important aspect of IPCAs.
Good.
Everything? Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm the actual IPCA program manager at UINR. So early in 2020, just before COVID hit, UINR held 2 days of engagement sessions with Mi'kmaq elders, youth, and other knowledge holders. And we talked about the concept of IPCAs, whether they were even relevant to Unama'ki, and if they were, what would be the priority site. So from those 2 days came a lot of findings, and we prepared a 60-page report. It's on our website if you're interested in looking at it. But this was the decision-making framework that will serve as the foundation for all IPCAs moving forward. And you'll see there's 4 themes: governance, values, education, and green economy. And underneath those 4 themes are a number of different factors I'm not going to get into today, but if you're interested, you can read about that. Glooscap's Cave at Cape Dauphin was identified as the priority site, and that's in Victoria County. So one of the major concerns that the Mi'kmaq elders and Mi'kmaq communities voiced was they wanted to make sure that access was maintained to the traditional trail and to the cave. And we were hearing that property ownership was changing hands in that area. So we wanted to make sure that we maintained that access. So in January of 2021, UINR purchased the McLennan property at the end of New Campbellton Road. So we're now the owners there of 50 acres. and the McLennan Settler House. So since that time, we've been meeting with the adjacent landowners, people from New Campbellton, Port Hawkesbury Paper, local historians, and even the Highland Village staff. And we've identified some other issues in that area. So there's a lot of vandalism. People are worried about inappropriate behavior in the area. There's a lot of congestion at the end of New Campbellton when people are walking on the trail. Although it's not publicized, it's pretty well used at all times of the year. Yeah, and we wanted to assess the feasibility of actually restoring the McLennan House, because we learned that it's at least 150 years old and it has unique architecture. And we want to link it to the Highland Village property as well. So that's basically, we wanted to just give you a little bit of a update on what's going on, what our plans are and who we're working with. And we wondered if you had any questions for us, and we'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We will open it to questions, and maybe we'll start with the most familiar counselor to you, with Councillor McNeil.
Patricia and Lisa for doing this today for us. I just have a question, like when we started initially about CPAs or IPCAs, there was a talk that the whole Bredor would be looked at as is that still being under consideration?
So it is, in that one of the things, so I was part of the Indigenous Circle of Experts that came up with a document called We Rise Together. That's the document that was handed as kind of like a guiding document to the minister on the creation of IPCAs and what that might look like across Canada. And one of the things that was identified in that, it was IPCAs were an opportunity to, and I guess the easiest way that I put it is, like, when I talk about the concept of two-eyed seeing at Awaptamunk, and I speak that one eye, as Albert says, you look at things through a Western perspective around science and technology and all those tools that we can utilize to help advance conservation efforts. The other part of that eye is the traditional, for us, would be the traditional Mi'kmaq perspective. And in that, it's very much tied to Indigenous laws and governance. And our culture and our language are very much tied to that. So our culture and our language talks about how we are very much connected to this land. And so when we talk about management of space, we talk about it as the land would inform that. So not only does the land inform how we approach our relationship to the land, it also informs how we govern ourselves. So in that way, governance is a very important part of an IPCA. And the way I look at IPCAs is there an opportunity to strengthen that Indigenous eye. What does that look like? What does that mean? So we talk about concepts like Nedaglim, and I speak how they are still relevant till today. It's looking at, well, what does that look like in a modern day context? So how can we apply, like we speak to that a lot, Paul, at CEPI, using the two-eyed seeing approach. And it's the onus is on First Nation communities to bring that perspective. In order to bring that perspective, there's a lot of things that have to happen in our community in terms of reconciling with the land. Because of our past colonial history, we've been removed from the land, and a lot of that culture, about that connection, about that understanding, in some ways has been lost, but in some ways it hasn't, right? And then building capacity within our communities to see, well, how can we use those perspectives? So what we're looking at, so the IPCA at Bruce Cap, it happened very fast, and in that it was a funded program through ECCC, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Proposals were written and start and end date. So it was very rushed in that way that we're learning as we go. As you're aware, like UINR on behalf of the communities has been working in the Brador watershed for a number of years. We've taken kind of like a leadership role in ensuring that those resources, we acknowledge them as unique and precious to not just ourselves, but everyone in Cape Breton, and that they're important to protect. And we've, in partnership with Victoria County and others, we established a SEPI table, and all for the common purpose of managing that space. IPCAs in themselves don't have any particular legislation or policy, right? It's just a construct, it's a concept. But the way we're looking at exploring the idea about a Brador IPCA is we want to take it from the very beginning. We think it's because it's Indigenous led, it has to come from community. So our first step in even exploring the possibility, whether or not we identify it as an IPCA, and again, there's no teeth in that at all. Very much like the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, right? It's more about an acknowledgement of its significance, and how as a community are you going to build capacity to ensure that it's protected. Very much is the same idea of an IPCA. But because we want to look at this IPCA as an opportunity to build community capacity around governance and around traditional knowledge and its application, we are not at this point saying, yes, we're not going to just declare it an IPCA, even though all the wonderful work that's happening there already. I mean, we might say that we could, and others have suggested that we should.
Yeah.
But we're taking the approach where we're going to engage with community. We want to really have a really in-depth and meaningful discussion with our community members about what does that even mean? How do we define an IPCA? What does that look like? And then if they say yes, then that there's a lot of work to be done. Well, okay, what does that mean? And what does that mean in terms of a vision for where we, what's our role in protecting that space? And what does that relationship look like? How does it fit in with our existing relationships with Victoria County through things like SEPI? What does that look like? And to me, it's really only about strengthening our, not even so much position at the table, but just strengthening our Indigenous voices at the table, and strengthen our ability to contribute to the protection of that through two-eyed seeing. So when you ask, that's not an easy answer, but I mean, I hope that explains where we are in terms of when this discussion around Brador IPCA, because it's not an easy concept, right? It's
No, thank you, Lisa, for explaining that. And like at the beginning, I wasn't even sure, like we had a number of presentations at SEPI about it myself, and I was kind of confused about what, I think everybody was at first, but no, thanks for the explanation.
Councillor McLeod, any questions or comments, please?
Thank you for the presentation. It's very interesting. I didn't know about that trail is there. Thank you. It's nice to see this something there. Just a question. You're working, or you want to work with the Haila Village? Is there some partnership? Is what project you can have? What is your vision there with?
Well,
Just
last fall, we had, I think, 6 staff from Highland Village came out and looked at the house, because we weren't sure it's kind of in the state right now where you either restore it or get rid of it. And just to back up, we had an elders walk in the fall of 2020, and we walked to the cave, and then we came back out and we talked about what do we want to interpret there? Do we want to just have it only the Mi'kmaq history? And the elder said, no, we want all history to be interpreted. So the Highland Village staff came out and we went through the house, and they had people from like an interpretation, from a restoration, just general management point of view. And they said that, yeah, it could be restored. It would need some money. And since then, they kind of put us in touch with historians, and they were saying that this architecture is unique because when the settlers came from Scotland, they would build the fireplace and chimney first and then build around it. And this house is an example. And they don't have that at the Highland Village. We don't see ourselves like having it as an interpretation center or anything, maybe some panels outside and then link it to the Highland Village to say, go to the Highland Village and you can learn more about the whole Gaelic history.
Mhm.
So they've been amazing. And yeah, we have a great partnership and we can sort of trade off like inputting Mi'kmaq knowledge into the Highland Village site, and they can help us here.
Yeah, and just follow, do you see you will develop for, I don't know, for tours or something from the cave, or
Yeah,
that will
it's-
keep it like a just is information, like a,
Yeah, it's hard
Preservation.
because the more you promote it, the more interest there's
Yeah.
gonna be.
yeah,
And we want to keep the trail traditional.
okay,
We don't want to like have it as a huge tourism
of
site.
course.
But we do realize, like, we're thinking of putting a parking lot in at the end of the road, and then that kind of helps out with all the congestion there. And we want to have a greater presence, and that might be through Mi'kmaq Earth Keepers, because the elders said that they want to restore respect for that area,
Exactly.
which there isn't right now. And by having a bigger presence, then people will understand why it's sacred to the Mi'kmaq and what type of behavior is appropriate.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Do you want to add in?
Councillor Longva.
Yeah. No. You want-
Hi, thanks for your presentation and nice seeing you both again. I have to congratulate you on getting that McLennan House. What an awesome spot. The whole area is down there. I have been down, I think I told you, I've been actually into the cave, which is really, it's amazing. Like, when you go in there, how big it is too. But the other thing was that there was garbage in there, which I couldn't believe that somebody would actually go to the effort to go in that beautiful trail, climb down the rocks, scale rock walls with garbage, go in there, like crawl in and then eat their stuff and come out and like leave their garbage in there. It was just beyond me that people would do that. And I know a lot of people go there to the cave. It's an amazing spot. I don't know how you can stop people from putting garbage there. I don't know, are you going to do signage or something down there?
Yeah, we're working with, the province actually owns the Goose Gap Wilderness area. So there's two, like, there's where the cave is, they own that, and then they own the larger piece. So we're working with the province to come up with some type of plan. One of the other issues is safety. The elders are really concerned with people going down the cliff. So we're trying to work with them on that issue to decide, you're never going to keep people out of there. And the Mi'kmaq want to continue there. So what's the best way to do that? We're working with I've contacted all the landowners in the area. So there's a few from the States. The one that actually owns the other house at the end of the New Campbellton Road, they want to work with us. And we're looking at conservation easements on their property. And yeah, there's just, everybody is so supportive. They just really want to see a bigger presence there. We invited the local landowners to come out on the Elders Walk, and they did. And so we've made that connection between the community and the Mi'kmaq, which I think was needed. Because I think each one feared each other, and now they realize that the vision is the same and it's consistent. So yeah, I just think we're hoping, because we own the trailhead now, if we have some signage there that explains the area and why it's important, and we're hoping to even look at a medicine trail on the other side that will kind of deflect the pressure from the cave to go down to where the house is. So yeah, we're just kind of in the planning stages with all that right now.
Mhm. And that was also really interesting what you said about that the Scottish built their fireplace first and then they built their, I didn't know that. Even though my parents are of Scottish descent, I didn't know that they built their fire. It makes sense though, because then they could use it to cook while they're doing everything else. Anyway, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Counselor. Deputy Warden Doffney.
Yes, thanks. Thanks very much for the presentation. Very interesting. I think some of my questions were being asked. I was wondering where the actual cave was on the property you bought, but I understand that now. So is there only one trail into it? Is it the trail that goes the trailhead from your property? Okay, because I've never visited it by foot. I've been there by boat. And I noticed in the pictures graffiti. Am I right in saying there's graffiti on the walls down there? Okay, that's got to stop. That's, yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad you're just taking it over and hopefully you'll be able to keep people out of there from doing the destruction that they're doing because it's definitely one of the highlights of Cape Breton, I think is what's in that area. But thanks very much for your presentation.
Saying that we're hoping by having more education and outreach about the space and elevating its kind of status that would deter some of that. That's the hope.
Thank you, Deputy. Counselor Longba. Well, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I'm sorry.
I know.
Counselor Oregon, my apologies.
Thank you for the presentation. Really, I did not know it was there. And I'm from Cape Breton, so I'm looking forward to doing the trail.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you.
Maybe Paul can help us arrange maybe a guided tour down there someday for you guys.
Yeah.
Showing the property, and it's really a beautiful property, like you said. Yeah.
You have to walk in, it's a kilometer, 1.7 kilometers in. So that's another thing that keeps like just the kids and other people out of there is you have to walk quite a ways in to get to the cave. But there's a lot of interest. Like this week, we're taking a number of journalism students up. So you'll see some pieces on it. And I think that helps too with the graffiti and
Thank you, Counselor Oregon. Counselor McDonald.
Thank you, Warden, and thank you for coming to council today. Very informative. With regard to the property to the caves, what's the distance from the property of the caves, and have you found any pieces, indigenous pieces within the caves?
well, like I said, the trail it's a 1.7 kilometers. So once you start on the trailhead, you have to walk in. We haven't had a lot of opportunity to look at like the archaeological history, but there hasn't been a lot of work done in Cape Breton in general. The caves are really hard to get to. Like we're not encouraging that because it has to be at low tide. And the neighbors there have like let us know about some cases where people get lost or get down in the caves and they can't get out. And it's as hard as it is to walk in there, it's harder for police or ambulance or anything like that to get in, right? But that's something I think that will be part of the whole IPCA is to look at the Mi'kmaq history.
Yeah, there's no archaeological sites that we're aware of, but the site itself is very sacred and significant to the Mi'kmaq. It's tied to our creation stories around Glooskap. So there are legends and that go back thousands of years that actually have geological features that are associated with that space aside from the cave. So it's a well-known in its significance through those oral histories.
The Mi'kmaq believe the cave is the center of the universe. And it's where Glooskap's home was. And Glooskap was a very important teacher to the Mi'kmaq. I'm sure you've heard of, there's quite a few legends surrounding that. So if you look off, if you know where the Bird Islands are, it's just off there. That was Glooskap's canoe. Kelly's Mountain was Glooskap's mountain. It's where the little people live. So we're looking at the IPCA as being broader and including all of the features that are included in the legend. So, yeah, we're looking not just terrestrial, but marine islands and looking at that as a cultural landscape of significant significance to the Mi'kmaq.
That's great. Thank you very much, and be really interested in going to visit, maybe under Councilor McNeil's guidance. Thank you.
That would Lisa.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And just a quick comment. I've had the good fortune of seeing the cave both from land and from sea. And, the first time I went down there was many, many years ago, and didn't realize the significance of the location. So I'm glad that it's being promoted and being recognized. And you're right about the people getting lost. I think it was my oldest daughter's grade 9 class went down there and they got lost for 10 to 12 hours, and it was quite an event. So that's why I've always had some memory whenever it comes up, but it's changed my perspective now with the history behind it. We didn't know it at that time, but we do now. And I can't tell you anything that we can do as a municipality to help you promote or whatever interest we have. We'd be more than happy to work with you on that. So I want to thank you very much for your presentation today, most informative, and bring us up on some history on our own municipality that some of us weren't aware of. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, great. Thank you. So your presentation is here. Is it okay to keep a copy of it? And yeah, so we can, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. So we're just going to wait a minute here while we queue up the next presentation. So our next presentation, we have Jonathan Martin here this afternoon. He is with the Eastern District Planning Commission, and it is in regards to an open file on Victoria County dangerous and unsightly premises located in Bedeque. Today, we're dealing with a cleanup order, so I'll turn it over to the representatives from Planning Commission. So perhaps then if you'll introduce the gentleman with you as well. And
yeah, my name's John Martin. I do building and fire inspection and dangerous and unsightly premises complaints. This is Sean Donovan, our manager, and also has been involved in the file. So this is just a cleanup order that was issued. Normally, we would deal with these and wouldn't bring them up here. This one was appealed, so we'll just give a short presentation outline on the complaint, and then I believe the owner will be here to speak on the property as well. So, so it's the property information. It's 9 Founds Drive in Bedeque. So we received some complaints on April 19th, 2022 about some issues that'll be outlined on the next slide. We issued an order on April 22nd and delivered it to the property and spoke with the owner that day. And the order was appealed to council. So the owner was notified of the meeting, and this is that meeting. So this is a copy of the cleanup order. So as you can see in the highlighted area, the order is to remove all refuse and or derelict vehicles on the property which meet the definition of dangerous or unsightly as defined in the Nova Scotia Municipal Government Act. So for derelict vehicles, the definition is licensed and inspected. So here's a photo of the property. I'll go to this photo, or maybe I'll actually go to this photo. So this property has actually been significantly cleaned up. So that we'd like to thank the property owner for that. There's been quite a bit of progress made and some very obvious efforts. So we just have some concerns that remain. There's a pile of debris you can see on the right side of the picture behind the plywood there, and some other little bits and pieces kind of thing. And then our focus for this order enforcement would turn to any vehicles on the property that aren't licensed and inspected. So this one is, I'm quite sure, and would not form part of the order. This one is not. There's a temporary license, but no inspection for it. And I'm not certain on the state of these, but when we would complete the order and tender it, we would confirm. So no vehicles that are inspected or licensed, inspected and licensed, I should say, would be removed. It would just be ones that are derelict by that definition. There's another photo of that vehicle. So just a brief history. We have involvement with this property going back to 2012. So we've had recurring complaints of accumulation of different things. So we're able to resolve it sometimes with just speaking with the owner, and the items are removed. And sometimes we've had to issue orders, but they've been complied with before they've had to be enforced. And on one occasion that I'm aware of, at least, we had to remove one by the tender process. But generally, when a complaint file is closed, we receive another complaint about something else on the property. So this is just a brief outline of what we're looking for when what we're calling dangerous or unsightly. So it's unsightly in relation to neighboring properties. So sometimes there might be a property that has some vehicles or some accumulation of different things and some work being done. But if there's many other properties around that are the same, we're not too concerned about it, kind of thing. It's where there's that stark contrast between one property and the next that we tend to focus more, I guess. So it has the accumulation of junk and derelict vehicles, items of machinery and parts, and is an estate which depreciates land, the value of land or buildings in the vicinity. So these are just excerpts from the definition from the Municipal Government Act. So our recommendation is that the cleanup order just be upheld. So that order is a 7-day cleanup order, and that if the owner fails to comply, that the municipality will complete it and recover the costs. So that concludes our outline of it. And questions, I guess?
Thank you very much. Appreciate the information. Just a point of clarification. So the order is 7-day cleanup to remove. So that's 7 days starting today if the order is signed.
So the order was appealed before it expired. So generally the order has expired, but
Okay.
the appeal would stop the clock on that.
Okay.
So this would be council deciding whether to uphold that order or to repeal it, I guess.
So again, is the 7 days up or does it start today?
If council decides to uphold the order, the
It's
7 days will start from today.
Thank you. Thank you. I just needed that for my clarification. So thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
It's been, like Jonathan said in the presentation, it's been ongoing. Most cases where it's cleanup orders like that, the administrator has the right to issue the orders. They don't have to come before council like a demolition order. And in these cases, most often the administrator tries to work with the property owners to have them cleaned up and avoid the orders and tender process. And this property has been a kind of a cycle of, we get complaints, we speak with the owner, the items are removed to the point where we no longer deem it dangerous and unsightly. The vehicles there are licensed, registered, that type of thing. And then, a while later we get more complaints, and there's vehicles that might end up on the property that are unlicensed, unregistered, or machinery or anything like that. So it's a little bit of a cycle on that side, to the point where now we've just issued our orders, and that's why we're here. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for the representatives from the Planning Commission? The owner is here, Mr. Matthews. Do you wish to make any comments? If you do, yeah, she is the registered owner, I understand. Do you have, if you want to make some comments? Sorry, Jack, if you come forward, we can't hear you. If you come to the mic, please. So just introduce yourself to council so that folks will know.
I'm a singer. I'm used to this stuff. No, I'm here to tell you that I have no objection whatsoever to the cleanup order. None. It was overdue. I understand that completely. But if Jonathan, Sean, isn't it? Sean was the first gentleman. We had great communication. We always got the job done, right? But some strange things happened, so. But I have no problem with the cleanup order. If they drove by today, I think they might have noticed something today. Did you notice anything today? Yeah, you notice there's 5 trailers gone, my utility trailers and the travel trailer. And the boat that was never there, that was on the order. I never had a boat there. I do have a 29-foot boat, but it's in Prince Edward Island. That was never, ever there. I don't know where that came from. No, I have. Okay. How's that?
Great. Anything else
Thank
you
you.
want to add? We heard your comments.
I'm a sound technician. You think I'd know better, wouldn't you? No, but no, I had great relations with Sean over the years. And yes, Jonathan, I kind of enjoy Jonathan. He's from a farm and stuff. So is my wife. That wasn't an issue really, but he made a statement one day, well, you know, every time I come here, there's something different here. Yeah, that's true, but everything else is gone. I run a company called Repair All. I'm an electrician by trade. But yes, like one particular vehicle that Mr. Martin put on his order was a 2007 white Ford. He put it on, has to be removed. Well, I didn't mind that, but it wasn't even mine. The guy that worked for me, I was doing some body work on his painting his truck because he didn't have any money to do it. So I didn't have it removed. I drove it up to his place, took all my welding equipment and fixed it there. That was one strange little thing that happened there. And then the next thing that happened, like I found very peculiar, when he did remove the truck that he's talking about, that truck, I just had a Sam's Auto Glass with a windshield in it and 4 new tires at $1,100. I was changing the fenders. I do that. I retired from school bus driving after being there 20 years. So Jonathan showed up, and 10 minutes after that, the RCMP showed up. 2 units, I think another unit went up the road. My wife looked out the window and took a breakdown, basically. She saw the police. She thought they were going to shoot me or something. I drove most of these police officers, I drove their kids at school. I had no problem. I had no problem the way they handled themselves that day. But I asked John, look at this truck, John. It's only one that has to be removed. Do you mind if I ask the guy that's taking it away, can he take it out to land, 200 acres? It's in the woods. It's in the barn there. Yeah. He said, I asked the RCMP hours, do you have any objections to that? No. I asked the tow truck driver, do you have any objections to dropping it there and I'll pay you extra? And he said, no. And Jonathan said, no. But I was after being told before that, you know, Jack, if this is out in the woods somewhere, there's nothing done. This is residential, which I understood that completely. But that was very unusual. And my wife had to go to her daughter's for a month. She took a little breakdown because of it. I had to go retrieve her, which I thought was ridiculous.
So by your own admission, the property needed a little work. It's been tidied up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's.
But now there were 7 days in order. Anyway, they said, well, perhaps the meeting, we'll give you another extra 8 days. The last 8 days, it's been rigorous. All my working equipment, my welding equipment is still there, but that's not very much. The white van that he's talking about, I think he showed a picture of it, that has an inspection sticker on it. There's a plate on it. And the other one, I have the plow. That's I used that for plowing in the winter. As a matter of fact, I do our street. Like the guy over at the pharmacist came down, he thanked me one day because when the plow was being laid, I go down to everybody's driveway. I didn't charge him nothing. That's what that plow what I needed for, but plus people out that I know out back with that rear back.
So
That's sold. That's a sold vehicle. I have a
Good.
deposit on it, right?
Good, thanks. So at the end of the day, there's still remaining debris that's there, Jack, and that's what we're talking about. And we're relying on the information and the recommendations provided by the representatives from the Eastern District Planning Commission. So anyway, I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak as well.
Yes,
And you
thank you.
have, and I understand your positions, but at the end of the day,
Yes.
there's still a recommendation from the Eastern District Planning Commission, and we want to hear what their recommendation is, and then we'll
Yes.
proceed. So, but thank you
That's
for coming
feasible.
in today. So appreciate your comments and appreciate your time.
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask Jonathan if we get the recommendation from in regards to the property. Okay. So
I don't mind, excuse me, I don't mind that. I asked them to specify which vehicle he was talking about. There is a white cube van, a trailer type thing right now.
Yep.
There was a motorcycle hanging. I stole mine. I got a trike and a bike and another one. I put them that in the wintertime, you see? That's there, but the bike is being taken out and that's gone.
Yep. No, I get that. And I'm sure whatever it is that has to be removed from the site is going to be dictated to you, pointed out to you by the representatives. That you have to clean it to their satisfaction. You clean it to their satisfaction, you clean it to their satisfaction. So that's where it's at. And the file's been open since 2012 up and down. So, we both agree on that it has to be tidied up. As you very correctly said, it is a residential property and there's just certain standards that have to be maintained, and if you maintain them, it's not an issue. If not, then you end up here. So, so we would need a motion from council to uphold that order. So do we have a motion to uphold the order for the property, please? That was moved by Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder? Second by Councilor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. So the order will proceed as recommended by the planning.
Okay,
So
so
hopefully it's
we have to remove things. But or Sean, will they specify what has to be removed? Because we don't just do everything we could possibly remove the last night. Yeah. Yes, that's feasible.
okay. So we're clear.
Could I get Sean? I'll speak to Sean, and maybe send me some documentation specifying what exactly they're talking about.
That's a question for Sean. Sean's good with that. He'll send it to you.
Yeah.
We again, just to clarify, we take our direction from Eastern District Planning Commission. I can't answer those questions. Those are administrative questions for the people that are
Sure.
responsible for the cleaning up of the property. So you deal with them, you satisfy them. There's no issue with us. If not,
Right.
that's then
It has to be, excuse me, sir, it has to be done by the 1st of June because the guy that runs the restaurant down there, he wants to rent the cottage. So everything, and we're leaving on June 10th. We're selling. We have an offer from Ontario.
Okay.
We had many offers, but this one seems to be legitimate, but we can't have what's there. That's why there's an enormous amount gone. And I'm sure they noticed that today.
Yep. No, well, thank you very much for your time
Well, thank
today.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean and
I'll
John.
shut this off.
You just press to put her on red. Thank you. All right, see you. So just before you leave, Sean, just for clarification for us, thank you, Jack. So we have made the motion to uphold the recommendation and do the order.
Yep.
So what are the next steps as you
So the
folks? see?
7 days would start, the clock would start today.
So
At
he
the
has,
expiry of the 7 days, we would go to the property, see if everything is completed. If not, we would issue tenders. So, and at that point is when I'll talk to Mr. Matthews on, when the 7 days expire, we would go to the property, and if it's not completed, and if we would say, if this vehicle doesn't have license registration, that vehicle's tendered. And then that's when we request the tenders. The contractors have the opportunity to go to the property and give us our bid. And with the RCMP involved, a case like this, we would probably ask them to be there so that we can confirm proper registration and that side, because you can put a temporary registration in a window. I mean, I don't have the ability to check that if it's for that specific vehicle. So that would be during that, at the expiration of the 7-day order. We would tender it to our knowledge, what's there, what meets the definition of dangerous and unsightly. And then we would request that we would go with the same day that the tender is happening and confirm that vehicle if it does have the proper registration.
And just again, for clarification, that's vehicles and then the other remaining debris.
Anything that falls under the Municipal Government Act is dangerous and unsightly.
Very good. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Appreciate it.
Can I just ask you one thing? You mentioned inspected and licensed, but what about insured?
It's insured is not something we look at, no.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Good job.
Thank you.
Minutes were circulated to you. You've had a chance to review them. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes?
Yes, I just sent email. It's because in the bottom say 9 to 14 pages.
Right?
So just want to make sure that was the last bit, right? It's a typo, right? Thanks.
There were 9, just 9. Yep. Yep. Okay, thank you. Hearing no errors or omissions, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 25th, please? Moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder, please? Second by Councilor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. The minutes are approved. Any old business? We'll turn to CAO first and then open to council.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of things. We had talked at the last meeting about next steps on the courthouse on this building for repairs or replacement or more tests to be done. I've received quotes from JS Held, the organization that we had that had come here to do this. The next reports would cost anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 up to $500,000 for hazardous material, debris removal on the outside. We also received a quote that a new building, either renovating this or a new building would be in the tune of $4 to $7 million. And we talked about this at our budget meeting. And I think the consensus is for us to start with looking at an expression of interest on next steps for this building for community groups or for anyone else that might be interested. I also received word from Department of Natural Resources and Renewables. They've given us a letter of offer on 5 hectares of land for the White Point lot in the New Haven Niels Harbor area to potentially look at a new transfer station site up there as a site that we had looked into. So we'll be looking to get some community feedback on that in the near future. Just a reminder for everyone, I'm sure you've all known, but it seems like everyone's most wonderful time of the year. Heavy garbage is happening May 9th in all areas of the county. Please don't have your items out any earlier than May 7th. I guess it's starting today. So, yeah. The folks will be around. They go by each area once. May 16th, we'll be having a meeting related to bylaws, policies, and some admin stuff. Related to the arena, I spoke with John Trickett. The rink is planning on doing a community update to let community members know where they're at. On the fire departments, there was a question on the fire departments and the information that they should be giving our fire services coordinator. I have a meeting with our fire services coordinator on May 25th, and we'll be discussing that at that time, along with a couple of other things. And we had asked to have the minister here to talk about the non-resident tax, but I'm thinking we probably don't need that at this point, based on last week's developments.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments in regards to old business by the CAO? Do any council members have any old business they wish to bring up from the minutes of April 25th? Councillor Longva.
Yeah, just in regard to the survey that's going around, it would be good, I think, to form a committee to look at the results that have come in so far. I'm willing to be on that committee, and I know one person from Perlis District, which is interested in joining the committee, and one constituent from my district that's interested.
What's your preference for numbers? Are you thinking like one councillor and some other people from, you looking at a committee of 4, 8, 10? Any thoughts?
It's open.
Okay,
If anyone feels compelled to join, certainly they're welcome.
okay. What we will do, if you have an interest, do that. Contact Barb and let her know by the end of the week if you were interested in sitting on that committee with her. And if you happen to know anybody that's in your district that has an interest or expresses an interest in joining that, ask them to get in touch with Barb. Is that
Thank you.
reasonable? Thank you. Any other old business? I have one. We had the District Health Authority here, and they said they were committed to meeting with the community with public meetings or open houses. So I would like to just make a motion that we contact Brett McDougall with the District Health Authority and ask him when those meetings will be scheduled. We'd like to have dates and locations. Sorry, that was a motion. Sorry, that was deputy, that was a motion.
Second.
By Councillor McLeod, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion passed.
Sorry, it's not sorry to put you on notice like that, Larry. Any other old business? We're good. We're going to move on to CAO's report. It's been circulated to you and on Friday, so you've had a chance to review it. I'll ask CAO to go through it. And any questions or comments will be taken after the report's given. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to give a couple of updates on some of the different departments here. So in communications, starting tomorrow, we're going to be starting some information posting related to our boundary review and accessibility roadshow, and possibly we'll be adding a couple of other things onto that based on our budget discussion. So it might be a check-in at different locations, one in each district. So we might add a few things as we go along, if that's okay with council for the way to do it. Our accessibility survey will also be launched at around tomorrow. We right now have no Mo May signs out. They have arrived. They're put on the courthouse lawn. They are available for pickup and a donation also. And just to let everyone know that the Victoria County Transit North bus right now is down for repairs. So keep checking the website and Victoria County Transit on Facebook for any information related to that. In our finance department, we've hired, I'm not sure if you saw on your way in to the building, but we've hired a new customer service clerk. Caitlin started down there this week. We're also in the position of doing a few different hirings. We have also hired a seasonal water utility position down north. And I'm gonna speak in a little bit about 3 different resolutions that we're going to be looking for some funding applications and for funding. In recreation and active living, just a couple of things. Nova Scotia Walks Day is next Wednesday, May 11th, and we'll be hosting a community walk leaving from the front of the courthouse here in Bedeque at 12 p.m. and walking around the village for roughly 30 to 40 minutes, and all are welcome. Lydia is also working on the accessibility open houses and will be available at those. We are also hoping to collaborate with our new clean intern who is starting next week on some shoreline cleanups that will be happening in the month of June. There'll be more information coming out related to that. Lydia attended the St. Anne's Info Fair on Saturday and handed out some municipal information. The community garden work in the backyard here has started, and we'll be seeing new beds out there in the next little bit. She's also been working with Destination Cape Breton to plan a waterfall hike as part of her spring campaign. Dan and his tourism department has been ongoing working on trails, placemaking, operators, meetings, community development, all kinds, and getting your mic set up in here as well. He's been busy. In Public Works, we are needing some more staff at the Bedeck Public Works building. Stay tuned for some job postings that will be going up. Just to let everyone know that the reuse center opened last week in Bedeck, and opening week, they raised $530. So it's a great partnership that we have. We're having a water meter issue down at the Celtic, but we're working with Parks on it. They are saying, what we're hearing from Public Works is that the rise in fuel costs is making an impact on our operations. And in economic development. So our economic development officer has been working on business plans in Victoria County. She's also been working on investment attraction projects in coordination with NSBI. She's connected with another potential housing developer and has connected this person with community groups in Ingonish, Bay St. Lawrence, and New Haven to explore a cooperative model of housing, which might be pretty exciting. There's a new Cape Breton.shop e-commerce platform that the Cape Breton Partnership is working on. She has connected with Department of Natural Resources and Renewables to discuss lands in Ingonish for future development. She's meeting with Parks Canada next week to discuss business in the park. And the partnership is looking to run an immigration and housing webinar through the partnership. So stay tuned for more information related to that. And just one more thing on my behalf. I'm on the executive to hire a new AMANS executive director. So we'll Janice Wenzel, who has been the executive director for AMANS for 35 years, is retiring, a well-deserved retirement. And so we are on the hunt for some a new face there, and interviews, I believe, are going to be next week. So we're planning on that.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments for the CAO in regards to a report today? Okay, good. All right, we are going to take a 10-minute recess, and we'll reconvene in 10 minutes. You're up. Welcome back to council. We are looking at the next item up on our agenda, and it is the taxation report.
Okay, so going to give you some information from our system and then another really good piece of news. So as of today, there is 777,000 outstanding compared to 781 this time last year. So we're ahead by about $4,000. Current outstanding has increased a bit. We're now slightly behind on our current outstanding. We're this year we are at 442,000 compared to 366 last year. So we're behind by about $76,000. But I keep saying it's easier on the current outstanding rather than the arrears outstanding. Our arrears outstanding is sitting this year at 335,000 compared to 415 last year. So we're better on that by $80,000. And since our last update, $47,000 has been collected towards our outstanding taxes. Reminder letters have been updated reminder letters with updated messaging went out last week to everyone with an outstanding balance. So we're hoping that we're going to cause payments to pick up again when we send our bills out in early June. Just another reminder, our next tax sale is June 21st at the Inverary. The list will be advertised in the Post and posted to our website on Saturday, May 21st. So one other piece of great news that I have, our financial condition indicators, which is something that the province comes out and compares all municipalities. We have always been, we had one thorn in our side for the last several years, which was our our taxes outstanding. We had a red dot for that in our financial condition indicators. The last couple of years, we changed that red to a yellow dot. And I have the great news of telling everyone that we are now in the green on those dots. So we are at 9% outstanding compared to prior years where I think we were 15 or 18%. So I'm sure the girls downstairs are listening right now and they are doing a fabulous job down there. So we're really heading in the right direction on this.
Thank you. Well done. And we certainly appreciate the effort, and the proof is in the numbers. The numbers don't lie. And also want to recognize council too. We put taxation. We said that we would deal with it during the last term and a half, to the point that we put a taxation update as being a standing agenda item on our council to make sure that it is continuously being addressed. So good work to the staff and good work to council as well. So great news. Thank you. Questions or comments in regards to taxation? We're going to move on then to Department of Public Works concerns, and we'll start with District number 8.
Thank you, Warden. All my concerns have been forwarded to Mr. McDonald from the past council. I just wanted to bring an update in regard to the tender that was proposed to go out for Dingwall Road. Mr. McDonald said that should be out soon, and that he would notify us when the construction manager will be posting that on the government site, I guess. So Dingwall is still on the Navajo Trail to be done. So that's it for District 8.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And we'll go to District number 7. Councillor Horgan, please.
I forwarded my concerns to Mr. McDonald. I just asked for 2 signs to be replaced, one at Smiths Hill Road and one at Ocean View Road. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Warden Duff.
Yes, thank you, Warden. No real issues. Steve's looking after everything, as the other councillors have mentioned. I did notice the grader did the Englishtown Road, the sides, the shoulders of the road with the grader, and it came out quite well. So we're just looking forward to it heading north sometime. So good to see a little bit of work being done and hopefully more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Longba.
Immediate attention as section is very dangerous and it's not. So the old Big Harbor Road, that we work where it goes off of the Big Harbor Road, and I haven't actually seen that. But I assume it was through that because the constituent. Big Harbor Road, which I think is in bad condition. And I did notice a bad washing on Bay Road as well.
That needs to be fixed. But there is reflectors on that one. So Long Hill Road, Old Big Harbor Road, and the Bay Road are, and I sent those to Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you for the update, the report. Counselor McLeod,
Yeah,
District Number 2.
Just when I was coming from home in the morning, I checked the highway between the exit 8 and 9. There's big potholes between the highway. So I know they're going to do some job, but some work, but need to be patching. And just for an update about the West Side Middle River detour, they sent me just to information. Was complete the asphalt repairs in the detour route from its West Side Middle River Road, and McLennan Cross and Road were done. The West Side Middle River Road and Two Cross Road, Church and McLennan are sketched to be repaved early in construction season. And for the temporary detour bridge of Goldbrook and Cabot Trail, there is a tender out. Now is to build the new bridge. The schedule for opening will most likely mid-summer. And the second tender is following for the new bridge. So that will take 2 years to repair. Well, all that is, I said. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Counselor. Counselor McNeil, any Public Works concerns today?
Thank you, Warden. Actually, I have a tour with Steve McDonald and MLA Keith Bain on Friday, so hopefully all issues will be solved next week. And the new ferry will be arriving in Little Naris this week, and the ferry will be out tomorrow, starting tomorrow for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's it for.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the update on the ferry. I have no Public Works concerns other than the fact there was extensive patching done on a lot of the streets in Bedeck the last week. There's still some more work to be done, so I'm hoping that'll be completed in the next couple of weeks as well. Are there any motions, a notice of motions tonight, this afternoon, pardon me?
I actually
Sure.
have 3 motions, or resolutions that are needed. If that's okay.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so our first one, this one is for applying for PCAP funding for the replacement of the Dingwall Water Tower. So be it resolved, the municipality of the County of Victoria directs staff to apply for a grant opportunity through the Provincial Capital Assistance Program for the replacement of the Dingwall Water Tower. Be it further resolved, the municipality has identified this as a critical priority. The following motion was made on May 9th. It was moved by Councillor, so sorry, I'm not going to read that up. So we need a motion to apply that council will direct staff to apply for a grant opportunity through the PCAP funding program for the replacement of the Dingwall Water Tower.
So do we have a motion to that effect, please?
I'd like to make that motion, please.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilor McDonald, seconded by Councilor Organ. All in favor? Contrary minded? Any discussion on the motion? Motion is approved. Resolution.
Great, thank you.
Motion is approved. Thank you.
So there's another one. We have not made this motion, but we should have when we started talking about trail development. So this is another one for using gas tax funds. So if there could be a council resolution, be it resolved that the municipality of the County of Victoria directs administrative staff to transfer from the gas tax fund, which is now called the Community Building Fund, or there's another name to be applied to the development of a multi-use trail system. Be it further resolved that the municipality has identified trail development as a strategic priority to be carried out by an assigned administrative trails team.
You've heard the motion. Any questions? Any discussion? We have a motion to, do we have a motion to that effect, please?
Make a motion.
It's moved by Councillor McLeod and seconded by Deputy Warden Daphne. All in favor? Contrary minded, the motion is carried. Thank you.
Okay, so last one is one that the Village of Bedeque has asked us to move on their behalf. So the way that the Canada Community Building Funds, which is the former gas tax fund, works, money comes into us and 15% of the portion we get gets allocated to the Village of Bedeque. The Village of Bedeque can't spend that until they give us the documentation that is required to be sure that it follows the correct funding. So because we are the overseers and we are the ones who get the money, the village needs the municipality to make the application on their behalf. So the Village of Bedeque is looking for a motion. Given the importance of the completion of Bedeque Community Wharf project and the necessity of meeting ACOA's extended project completion date, we move that the village commissioners of Bedeque approve the withdrawal of up to $76,000 from the Canada Community Building Fund, which is formerly gas tax fund, to be used to complete the delivery of three-phase power to the Bedeque Community Wharf.
Okay.
We have earmarked on their behalf.
Sorry, it's their money and it's negotiated many years ago. So do we have a motion to that effect, please?
So
It's been moved. Do we have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor McNeil, moved by Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Motion is approved. Those are the three motions come to council tonight. We'll start district concerns. District number 1, please.
Thank you, Warden. I just have one issue and I'm getting a few phone calls about it. We have a Canada geese problem in the district over in Iona area, and maybe it's throughout the county, I'm not sure. But one call was to ask if the county would adopt a policy not to feed the geese. And also it would a letter be sent or a contact be made with natural resources to see if we can lessen the number of geese in the area.
That you're putting that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'll move that a letter be sent to natural resource to see what can be done with the Canada geese problem in the district or in the county.
Any other districts? You heard the motion. Do we have a seconder? The letter was to contact Department of
Natural resources.
just
Asking them to look into the Canada geese.
So we have a seconder. Deputy Warden is seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. Thank you. That's it. Councillor McLeod, District number 2.
Yeah, I just have a question. If you can ask the staff in recreation about the babysitting course, if she's doing it, now summer's approaching and they need babysitters, so.
For sure. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
ask
thanks.
the update on that.
And another one is about the change the street for the Camel Street. For the rink, if it is approved.
I'm just waiting for, I sent all the information to Department of Public Works, Peter Hackett. And I sent him a note at the end of last week for an update. I didn't get one yet. So all the homeowners except one have been contacted and they're all in favor. So I'm just waiting for that.
Okay,
For
thank you.
that, because it's covered the liquor store, the provincial building and
Provincial.
Department of Highways we require, but they didn't think it was an issue, but I'm still waiting for their response.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. District number 4.
Yeah, we attended the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipality conference, and it was very good. I enjoyed it very much, but one of the people talking was talking about diversity and inclusivity. And I thought about, in the name of truth and reconciliation, that I know that First Nations, they have their own council, but we have at least one reserve in Victoria County, Waikaba, and Wagmacook, sorry. And yeah, so I wondered if it was possible to maybe have a First Nations member on this council, or at least like once a month or something like that, to have them, so they could share what they're doing in their council, and we could share what we're doing in our council as movement towards truth and reconciliation and inclusivity. So I don't know where to take that, if I should make a motion, or
We can
it's
just do
just-
what we can do. Counselors, just ask CAO to be in touch with their CAO and see what arrangements can be made if they're interested in meeting with us. For sure, we can do that.
Thank you. Then another thing was, I heard about this program called Solar Electricity for Community Buildings Program. And it's a program where you get, what do you call it, like big solar panels. And it's been done in, what's the name of the place? Stewiacke, I believe it is. There's been a few places that have done it, but it's a 20-year contract with Nova Scotia Power. And they're said that they're making like 35 to 40,000 a year profit of doing that. And then that money can be used in infrastructure. So I wondered if we could look into that, doing it at both in Bedeque and North at the dump sites, and it could possibly an income for the county. And there'd probably be lots of funding for it, since the government wants us to move more and more towards green energy. I thought it sounded like a really great thing. And I do have some information on it if you'd like it passed along.
We can certainly pass that information on and follow up with CAO, and maybe it falls under Public Works or not, but that'll be an administrative decision. But meet with CAO and provide the information that you have, and we'll report back next council meeting, see where that goes.
And then I had a couple of street lights. One was, I'd just like to look into the one at Plaster Park, if they ever did replace it. That was asked for a long time ago. And when I drove by there yesterday evening, it wasn't on, but it was early. So it seemed like some lights were on, some were off. And I just wanted to check that. But I also had a constituent that has been asking for their light to be fixed. And that's on a 594 Oregon Road. And they need their light replaced. They pay for it themselves every month, that light. Also, the North River Falls, apparently the trail to the small falls, and I know the big one is in bad state of disrepair, but I guess a local group, it would be up to a hiking or a trails group, I guess, in the local area to put in, to ask for funding to fix it.
It's a local trail that is not part of our connector trail. Yep, they can contact Dan or Lydia to talk about trail funding. Yep.
Yeah, it's the North River Falls, so it is the biggest falls in Nova Scotia. And I hear this year is going to be like the year of the falls. So they might want to fix it. Anyway, I'll tell a local group to send in an application. And that's it for me. Thank you.
And thank you for that. And yeah, it is Destination Cape Breton has a program out about in the spring about visiting the falls in Cape Breton. And that's one of the major ones that they reference. So yeah, you got to get to it. I agree with you. Deputy Warden, anything from your district tonight?
Yes, thank you, Warden. A couple of things. First of all, I know a couple of years ago, we were looking in for the speed signs, the traffic, the electronic signs that rate the speed of the cars. I know there's a couple out here in by the Irving now, but I noticed ones in Sydney the other day was just a children's playing or a yield sign on a pole, and it was just a little solar catching, I guess, panel with the actual thing on it. So it's very simple, because before when we were looking, it was always on a trailer and had to be moved and that. I'm just wondering if we could probably follow up and see how much they cost and see what kind of information we can find out. I'm not sure if it's Department of Highways or their CBRM went to a public or a private company to get them, but looks like it'd be a lot cheaper than what we were looking at before. And
Are you talking school signs? Or?
it's not actually a sign, it's the speed limit sign. When you're speeding, it'll come up and show you actually what your speed is going by. So if you're going speeding, it flashes
Yes.
red. But it's a very simple attachment to an ordinary
Okay, so
sign.
it's the speed sign.
It's the speed sign, electronic speed sign, yeah. But it was just attached to an ordinary sign, so there was no trailer, no wheels.
Okay.
So it was, yeah, it was quite interesting. But if we can find some information out on that and see the cost, would be great. Just wondering if, I know the survey, we started last August on the survey to lands in Ingonish. I'm just wondering, do we know if the surveyor's back on site or working on it, or where he stands? It's just, we're running out of time quick, and I just wonder if we could rattle his chain again to see where he's at with it.
There is something wrong with the property online piece of it.
Okay.
So it's actually with property online to get
Okay.
updated.
Mhm.
So it's been to our lawyer and back from the surveyor, but they were requesting the property
Okay.
online update things. And we haven't heard back from them, so I'll check in
Nope,
on
that'd
that.
be greatly appreciated. Also, I think everyone's pretty much aware of the amazing young lady by the name of Matea Roach on Jeopardy, and how her, she did a great shout out for Ingonish and Cape Breton Highlands National Park. And in Ingonish, we like to take it that it's her genes from Ingonish, why she's so smart. So, but anyway, as counselor, I'd like to move that the County of Victoria send a letter of congratulations to Matea Roach on her amazing 23 wins on Jeopardy. Also to say thank you for the shout out during the show mentioning Cape Breton Highlands National Park and Ingonish. And I do have an address for her that I can pass on for her. But I make that a motion that we send that letter.
We have a second for that, please. Second by Councilor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Good, good acknowledgement.
No, amazing, amazing. Second motion, I know with Warden, I think you received a letter from the Victoria County Trucking Association. I know they sent an email out, and I think I was copied in on it, and you were copied in on it. But apparently what's going on is the Nova Scotia Trucking Association is working with the province to determine the pay schedule for trucking. So it's dealing with hauling salt, road construction. And I don't know the exact figures, but it's roughly about $80 an hour is what they pay now. With the rising cost of diesel and whatnot, they're figuring it's like $1.10 or $1.15 is just rumors that I'm hearing, that just to be profitable. So a lot of these small companies are really struggling right now. They started last December, I think it was, they put it into the Premier's office and asked the province to come up with a new rate to negotiate with them. And the last word I heard is that when they were negotiating is that they're waiting for PEI in New Brunswick to make up their mind before they make up theirs. And apparently they were talking to PEI, and PEI saying they're waiting for Nova Scotia to make their mind up. But anyway, the construction season starting very shortly. These companies are telling me that they're not going to be able to afford to keep going. So I just wondered if we could send a letter or make a motion that a letter be sent to the Minister of Public Works, Minister Marshland, and also Finance Minister Alan McMaster, requesting the province respond immediately to the Trucking Association of Nova Scotia with a reasonable trucking rate. This reasonable rate will ensure the continued operation of a local trucking firms. Without an increase, these operators and staff face an uncertain future. And also without an increase, I'm really concerned that the 22-23 construction season may be delayed, or who knows what's going to happen, but it's got to be some changes. Can I make that a motion?
You heard the motion. Do we have a seconder, please? Second by Councilor Longba. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you.
And
Deputy
that's
Warden.
it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Organ.
He was so long-winded, I forgot all I had to say. No, I have no district concerns for today.
Thank you. You're doing a great job. Councilor McDonald, any district concerns from your district, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Warden. Just two things this evening. One is in regard to the Canada Post situation for St. Margaret's Village. I was in conversation with Sean Tobin last week, and there's some miscommunication, whether it be from Canada Post to, I think, the municipality or constituents, actually, because most, if not most of the residents over there, they said to simplify it, because they can't seem to come up with a location that was supposed to be in place and all operations were supposed to be up and running at this time. And now we're being told that it could be the fall of the year, and most of the residents are asking for if Canada Post could put in super boxes at one of the locations, like the credit union. Something as simple as that would save residents, elderly people from traveling to Dingwall, which has been 18 to 20-minute ride to go over there just to receive their mail. So I would like to make a motion to have a letter sent to Canada Post in regard if they would entertain having super boxes placed at the credit union in St. Margaret's Village until they can resolve the issues with the mail in St. Margaret's Village. If I can make that motion, please.
The seconder for that, please. Second by Councillor Organ, all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And just lastly, I just would like to mention that the washrooms in District 8 are now up and running for Bay St. Lawrence. It's fully functional, 24-hour access. Amy had notified me of that last week, and the one at the Cape North Museum should be coming online in June.
Great.
And that's it for District 8, sir.
Good. Money well spent. Thank you for the update. Thank you for the report. I don't have any motions today. I made it earlier, so just that we are revisiting with the minister the seasonal adjustment for the municipal government section. I think it's 76. Is it 76?
72.
72.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about that in a while. So just thinking maybe we should contact them again on where we're at with that seasonal adjustment.
So we have, we talked to them. They made a commitment when they were here. We also had a chance to bring it up with Mark Peck, the Associate Deputy Minister, when he was here at last council meeting. So I guess to be quite correct, maybe I should make that a motion. So I make a motion that we contact the Minister Lohr and ask him to reopen that decision they made and change the wording as we have requested over the last 10, 12 years in 4 or 5 different governments and 10 different ministers. So I'd like that amount.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do you have a seconder for that motion? Second by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Discussion on the motion? Motion passed.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Any committee reports tonight, this afternoon? Oh, I should say, in light of the fact that we do know from our budget deliberations earlier today that there is an active group in Victoria County that are pursuing new indoor rink for Victoria County to replace the existing one. And I'd like to make a motion that we provide a letter of support from the municipality. I'm not sure if we have already, but if we haven't, that we provide a letter of support as they move forward, trying to secure funding from both levels, the other 2 levels of government.
No, I don't think we have before, but do we have a motion on the floor? Seconder for that motion?
Second.
Second by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Any discussion? Motion passed.
Thank you again, Larry. Any any committee reports? Any correspondence that has not already been? And just for anybody that may be wondering, either online, we just want to explain that we put our Gaelic flag up today. We couldn't get it on the flag post that we intended to, so we just temporarily put it over on the other one because we had asked Sam McLean to come in and do the proclamation for Gaelic month for the month of May. And by tomorrow, our Ukraine flag will be back up, and the Scottish flag will probably be under it or located under on the flagpole that we had hoped to put it on. And that's just for clarification. So our next council meeting is May 30th.
Correct, May 30th.
And it will be at 2:00 in the afternoon. Any questions online. Sorry, just before we.
I just wanted to mention that at that conference that Minister Laura was there and he made the very exciting announcement. There was a news release while the whole conference was going on that the non-residence tax was canceled. So that was great news for a lot of people.
Yeah, and you know, maybe what we should do is send a letter to the Premier saying we acknowledge that that was, I don't know if we should say that he did the right thing or the wrong thing, but I think we should acknowledge that it was a good decision to repeal that legislation. We should probably do that because we did send a letter saying that we weren't happy with it, so they repealed it. So do we have a motion to that effect?
I can make that a motion to send them a letter thanking them for listening to the municipalities
Well,
and the
good
people.
point. Well said. Absolutely. Listening was the critical piece to that. So have a second for that, please. Second by Councilor McLeod, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. We'll send a copy of that to the Minister of Finance, McMaster, and to our local MLA as well. Are you okay with that? Perfect. So we just have a short in-camera session after council. Is there any other final business to come to council tonight? There is none. So I'd like no online questions. Thank you. So council is going to end. We just need a motion to go in camera. It's seriously 5 minutes and that's it. We have a motion, please go in camera. Moved by Councilor McNeil, second by the Deputy Warden. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. So we ask everybody but council and CAO to vacate the council chambers. Alex can stay. Sorry, everybody else.